Weeks had passed extra slowly for the girls since Pinkie Pie's departure. The rock farm went about as normal, but it had been excruciating trying not to lose hope for two particular ponies. In Pinkie's absence, both Igneous and Cloudy had fallen back into being strict and cold. They had begun to refuse talk of their sister, and even badmouthed her to the local congregation. Locked into their miserable and old habits, Marble and Limestone had both been struggling not to sink. Their last respite was the cupcakes Pinkie had taught them, especially when it involved bad ponies that lived near the rock farm. It was harder to do, however. Their parents kept dragging them to the town and trying to erase Pinkie's memories from their minds. And when they didn't gaslight them, they had them hard at work. Their work effort had seemingly doubled without Pinkie to do her half. But even before Pinkie's birth, it had felt like they were working in place of another sibling. Now they were stuck doing the work of four for no reason other than spite. Their lives had been spent outside more than in. As they worked the further fields, they had to utilize wheelbarrows to get it all home. Limestone had run into an animal during their works and had slowly begun to bring it leaves of lettuce from her salads. The rock lizards had accepted the food after multiple sightings of Limestone, though it always stayed away from Marble. Marble had her eye out for lizards, but since Limestone had seemed to find the only one there, she knew she'd likely never know what they looked like on the inside. Limestone was laying on her stomach in the shade while Marble loaded the wheelbarrow. The lizard often stuck its tongue out even when threatened, and so Limestone had said silly lines that had evolved into his name. "Look, he goes blep! He's doing a blep!" And so, in a joke, Marble had said, "He's got a lot of pep and blep." "Peppo," Limestone had declared. "He's my Bleppo Peppo." Both had laughed at the name. Marble quickly added, "Sounds like a name Pinkie would enjoy." "Yeah." The lizard was gray with darker gray stripes. A few books had said it was a Marin's rock lizard, but they didn't know of Marin or where it had gotten such a name. While Limestone pet Peppo, Marble kept her eyes open and looked around. She was watching for their parents between every few rocks she dropped into the wheelbarrow. "You're really cute, Peppo," Limestone cooed to the lizard. He sat with his eyes blinking and barely moving when she gently ran a hoof down his tail. Peppo darted past her, then sat in a patch of sunlight. He went from alert to suddenly comfortable. Limestone followed him and continued to pet him. Slowly, Peppo shut his eyes and became content. All Peppo needed was sons and pets. It had been shortly after Pinkie's departure that they had found the lizard. Marble had frowned at the idea, but Limestone had brought it straight to their mother to ask permission. Cloudy Quartz had quickly said no. She had yelled to release the lizard. She had gone into a biblical babbling about reptiles and serpents that they had swiftly left the room from. Limestone Pie's rebellion had been expected by Marble. Limestone was the rebel, and even her parents had no idea of how little of it had to do with Pinkie Pie. Had Pinkie never spoken or acted out first, it would have been Limestone who did. Peppo was kept in a small box, and she'd sneak him any flies that she could swat, just light enough to stun and then drop in. Each day she was neglected to spend hours working, she brought him outside. He came back to her now, even as she let him go out for a day or so to do whatever lizards did. Marble always tried to keep her eye out for both of them, as well as a lizard of her own. The quieter Pie sibling secretly wanted to see if animals were magical, or if it was only ponies and dragons. She would never hurt Peppo, but had he been hers, she wouldn't have bonded as easily to him. For Peppo, the heat was fine, but for the two ponies it was unbearable. They both huffed and puffed, and Marble had trouble seeing through her sweat. She leaned against the wheelbarrow and tried to take a break. "Limestone Blinky Pie!" yelled Cloudy Quartz. Marble feared they were caught slacking, and her head jerked back as her eyes snapped open before she stood up, trying to look busy. The switch was a rare punishment, but they hated it. There wasn't a punishment they liked besides being locked in their rooms, but being caught often meant pain or hunger, and they hated missing dinner. Cloudy was already close to her oldest daughter, and Limestone was trying to shoo Peppo into the grass out of sight, but it was sadly too late. Their mother, who was about to scold Limestone for slacking, laid her livid blue eyes upon the lizard. "How many times must I say no to sinful things?" Peppo was grabbed by Limestone and pulled closer to her chest as she tried to look cute. He scratched her fur and tried to get free. "Mama, but why not? He's cute. He only eats bugs, and he isn't bad." She wanted to argue a lizard was a small animal, but Cloudy's eyes were harsh and her ears pulled back. Marble moved closer, hoping it wouldn't be bad this time. "When Tartarus was made, it was filled with snakes and lizards. These creatures slithered and crept, cold like the depths they dwelled in, and they seek to tempt all of us away from our morals and hard work. Why, look at you, laying on your stomach as if you too were a serpent," she scolded angrily. "We do not subject ourselves to embracing T-Rex creations, lest we become warped as a Draconequus." Neither knew what a Draconequus even was. Limestone cried out, "He's not a being from there. He's a living creature, just like we are, just like you and me are." She was about to say more, but she was smacked across the face. Peppo dropped to the ground and scuttled about, startled. Marble furrowed her face, now closer. She felt her anger at her mother for daring to touch her sister, let alone hurt her again. "Speak properly, not like a serpent would. You and I, not you and me. Never talk back to your mother. It is sinful. How many times do I have to teach you how to be a normal pony?" She hit Limestone a second time, and then reached for the lizard, her eyes filled with rage and hatred. She towered over Peppo, and before either filly could do anything, brought her hooves down upon the lizard repeatedly. In a way, Marble saw something more cruel than what they did to ponies unfold before her eyes. Peppo became an unidentifiable bloodstain upon the earth, and her sister was crying over what had been a living being as Cloudy wiped the gore off into the grass. At first, Limestone laid on the ground crying at the puddle, but upon seeing Cloudy clean her hooves like she'd stepped in something nasty, she jumped to her hooves, turning and glaring down her mother. Marble was trying to get closer. Her sister didn't deserve this. "You killed him!" she screamed. Cloudy's freshly cleaned front hooves twitched. She raised one to strike, but Marble pushed between them, hip-checking Limestone backwards as she stared into her mother. Her mother stared back. No, glared back. No love in her eyes. Staring at the blue made her think of Pinkie Pie. But Pinkie's eyes shone so full of life and love. She couldn't understand why her mothers were already dead. "Limestone Blinky Pie?" said Marble, drawing her name out to buy more precious seconds. "We both must follow our parents' examples and orders. Mama and Papa know what is best for us. We are but children." Cloudy's gaze softened slightly. "You are very lucky to have such a smart young sister." She seemed temporarily placated. Her eyes went to the wheelbarrow, then back to them. "If you are truly wise, you will both get back to work." She walked away from them, her gait that of someone with unbridled anger laying just beneath the skin. They wished their father had confronted them. He was stern, but slightly less mean. It was always Cloudy who suggested physical and painful punishment, while her dead blue eyes watched them. Marble suspected the family had made both of them this way. Their secret games were just what Cloudy did, and the whole village, too. Once, they had executed a pony based on nothing but him loving another stallion. It had been bloody and disgusting. The town they lived in was full of monsters. Marble held her crying sister as Limestone fell into the dirt. Why did Celestia allow these farm ponies to kill each other and do terrible things? Why did she let their parents hurt them? Was she even aware? Limestone cried angrily, teeth gnashing together. Marble wished she could write a letter for help, but there were no Pegasi who did mail there. Maybe, she thoughtfully suspected, that was why. Fillies and colts would have cried out for protection. This place was evil. "I'm so sorry I had to pretend to take their side," she whispered into Lavender Fur. "I didn't want you to get the switch or beaten like Peppo. You're so strong, Limestone, but you say what you feel and you speak up too much. You have to control that temper. It only gets us hit to say the truth." Limestone stared at Peppo's remains. Marble followed her eyes. It was a shame they had nothing left of him. Even the organs were too crushed to study. She could tell Limestone was thinking the same when she picked up what could have passed as scale confetti, and sobbed. "How do you do it? Staying calm and collected. How come you don't hate them? Both of them! They're so... I am angry. I hate them too. But I hold it in." She inhaled, then hugged her tighter. "Limestone, we need to stay strong if we're to survive this place, and how backwards it is. We have to be strong without Pinky. I'll help you as best I can, but I can't protect you from them forever." "You're so strong," Limestone said, barely above a whisper. She latched onto Marble and pulled her close. "You're just like these rocks. That's the only time Mama has been right. I am lucky to have a sister like you." "You're going to have to try and stay calm. I know it's hard, but try to do what I do. Don't talk back to Mama or Papa. Just sort of ignore them for work." She stood up, letting go of Limestone. "Come on, then. Leave Peppo to rest. Let's get back to work before she comes back. Tomorrow is Saturday. They always let us take a bigger break if we work hard before Sunday." She winked. "We might be able to make cupcakes then." Limestone rubbed the bruise that had begun to form on her cheek and nodded. "Okay." She raised her hooves and walked beside Marble back to the wheelbarrow. Peppo had been alive mere minutes earlier, but she forced herself to slowly forget him. "Goodbye, Peppo," she whispered. Marble gave her a look, then a hug. As Marble had predicted, on the next day, both Igneous and Cloudy allowed them full reign free time without supervision, which both had plans to use efficiently. They made certain to wander away from the farm and visit the next-door neighbors who ran different farms. Their number jar had given the number of a teenage pony next door. He had been the first one in the town to accuse Limestone of being something forbidden by the town, and they had both been afraid he'd spread the rumor. But his number had to be pulled before they could act. That was the rules. The jar had had mercy on them. His tongue wouldn't wag any longer. Limestone could finally rest easy. They had hit him with one of the tool handles upside his head. Marble, playing sweet, and Limestone bringing it down as he spoke to her younger sister, relishing the blow more than Marble ever could have. Then he'd be taken to the cave for a playdate. It had made Marble happy to finally have a teenage pony to study, and between Limestone's anger being taken out, she had done a lot of comparison with her notes on how a female pony's organs looked. Their numbers had been dominantly female for so long they'd begun to crack jokes. But a male was something new. Both had indulged in studies of pain tolerance and internal differences between colt and filly. It had only lasted a few hours. Both had felt better afterwards. A bath in the river later, both Marble and Limestone had toted the harvest back to their home. Their parents were talking faith speak to the neighbors and would be there for a long time, as they'd yet to unearth the rock they were digging at. Both made sure to alternate on who kept watch. The whole process went uninterrupted. Their cupcakes were never as flashy as Pinkie Pie's, but they tasted great even if they were not as pretty. They ate a few, savoring the magical burst of flavor, then left two with a note for their parents. To Mama and Papa, it read. They packed the rest into a basket and walked into town. The markets were often less than stellar, as most ponies were quick to avoid too much color. A stallion noticed them and bought a cupcake. He seemed to stare at them too long before asking, "Where is your younger sister? The pink one normally comes here too." Marble spoke up as Limestone looked dismayed.
She moved to Ponyville. Her cutie mark came and she felt called to the place. Here wasn't for her.
His expression went from disgust to sadness as he finished eating. "Such a shame. Ponyville is filled with temptations and far too much reckless behavior. She will be exposed to the temptations of greed and gluttony for sure. But you two will never leave, right?" Limestone's face became pink, and she struggled to do as Marble had told her. Marble, used to it still, and wondering why no pony cared Limestone's face was bruised, rubbed her sister's back to calm her down, and chose to speak for her.
"Yes, sir. Our place is with the rocks and humble living."
He paid for the cupcake and nodded before leaving. She internally wished him to explode.
"I hate this place," she said under her breath.
"He insulted our sister! How dare he talk about Pinkie Pie?" Limestone said, voice hushed by her own huff. "He knows nothing. Parties and cupcakes aren't wrong. She just wanted us to be happy. Happiness isn't a sin."
"Shove it off. Let's keep selling these cupcakes and get back home. We both know the truth about Pinkie."
Limestone bit her tongue, nodding sadly. She walked with her sister as they journeyed through the market, sometimes becoming brave enough to yell, "Cupcakes for sale!" but often just holding them up and hoping they'd be bought. It took until nearly sunset for each cupcake to be bought. They were pocketing the bits into a pouch and preparing to head back. However, Limestone dithered, and Marble stopped to see what had drawn her attention. It was definitely not a local. The pony was white and black, and obviously a Gypsy Vanna, a rare pony breed that came from Romania. Limestone and Marble only knew of Romania because Granny Pie and her whole family line had come from them. She said long ago their pelts had been pink and white like a strawberry cow's, but generations had robbed them of most of those traits. She sat with an assortment of bright objects and items that they hardly recognized. The Gypsy Vanna was attracting many atrocious looks. Marble memorized how many people made comments on her beautiful looks and said horrible things under their breath. Romanian ponies were clearly unwanted in the town, and her materialistic items were not welcome there. But at least 2 ponies had bought from her, and both knew they would be shunned later.
"What's got your eye, Limestone?"
"Look at that!" she exclaimed to Marble in excitement. Her eyes roved the entire set of wares the Gypsy Vanna had to offer, but steadied as they rested upon a vintage record player. They had seen it before, and both said, "Pinkie Pie had one of those!"
Or something like it,
Marble mused.
I remember she found it in the trash while at town, and it played music.
She looked nervously up at the Romanian pony.
It does, right?
She nodded her head.
I have many records perfect for ponies who are young like you. Good music.
Her long mane swayed as she nodded her head.
For you and your sister.
How do you know we are sisters?
The pony smiled playfully but said nothing. Romanians had a lot of horrible and amazing stories told about them. Some ponies said they could read minds. Others said they were secretly eating foals by sucking their souls out to power their fortune-telling magic. Both sisters seemed to giggle at the same thought. If they only knew that ponies were magical, and eating them was eating magic too. And the magic tasted amazing. No pony had ever said bad about their cupcakes, but had implied they were addicting. What hypocrites.
I don't know. Mama will get mad at this,
Marble said, looking at the player. Limestone was already talking far too openly. She mentioned Granny Pie and how their great ancestors were from where the Gypsy Vanna was from. She seemed amused and nodded her head more. When she finally clicked what Marble had said before her conversation, Limestone's brow furrowed. But she didn't have a problem with Pinkie having hers.
Pinkie got away with a lot more than we did, especially when she got her cutie mark. We don't have our marks yet, so we're still babies to them. And now that Pinkie's gone, they're both more strict than ever.
The Gypsy Vanna seemed angered by this mama and papa, but rested, powerless in the strange town. Foolish parents. Music is good for the soul. She pet the record player gently. Helps foals in the mother's belly develop. Helps growing foals and helps them be happy. Marble looked it over, hesitantly touching it.
How much for it?
Her smile was strong and infectious. How much Philly's got? Marble set down her basket and opened her pouch. The basket was emptied of cupcakes, and she knew most ponies had ate and ran or barely paid.
We have 10 bits.
This goes for 15,
said the Gypsy Vanna, and she stared at it for a long while. But I can sell it for 10. I like you. The business has been mostly being told to go back where I came from. But you spoke to me. You talked to me like I was the same as any other pony. You are good fillies. I know goodness when I see it. Thank you so much! Limestone exclaimed, almost hopping as she came closer. She took the 10 bits as they were dumped onto her blanket, not even counting to see if they added up to that many. Her hooves nudged the recorder into Marble's hooves, helping her hold it. Limestone accepted the records. They had cost more bits, but were handed over for free. Be happy. Do not let others take this happiness from you, the Gypsy Vanna said. Farewell, good fillies, she said as they walked away.
Thank you,
we will! Both cried in unison. Both hopped along like Pinkie Pie, filled with excitement. They hurried to sneak into their bedroom.
In the closet! They won't look there,
Marble said.
We'll play it while both Mama and Papa are working.
It's so cool! Limestone had not yet used it, but she was mesmerized. She loved the outside, while Marble was wondering how it worked and what its internals looked like. Sure, it wasn't a pony or animal, but Marble wanted to understand how it would work.
I can't wait to hear these records!
She placed all 3 upright, and they rested against the wall, almost disappearing from sight.
It will have to be kept at a low volume, Limestone.
Marble said, closing the door. Marble Inky Pie! Limestone Blinky Pie! Dinner! Come down here or go hungry! Cloudy Quartz called loudly. They didn't dare hesitate to go downstairs. They had once waited too long before and been properly punished with hunger. They all seated themselves at the table. Igneous Rock said grace as they all held their heads bowed. When they began to eat, each one was served by order of age by their patriarch. They feasted hungrily, for the work had given them quite an appetite. Limestone and Marble both paced themselves. Eating too much too fast earned them a scolding whenever they did it. After a few minutes, with their plates mostly clean, Marble Pie spoke up. We left cupcakes for you, Mama and Papa. Did you see them? Her parents' ears flicked as they had to lean forward to hear her quiet voice. They both slowly wore a disapproving look. Marble Inky Pie, Igneous began firmly. You know it is impolite to speak during dinner where we silently give our eternal thanks. I just... Her hooves fussed with her growing mane, and she played innocent. Wanted to make sure you got them. We worked hard to make those cupcakes and wanted to share our toils with you. It was a good batch. While Igneous seemed to lean on the work angle, he looked not too pleased. He respected hard work in a way their mother did not, but he was still against them in many ways. He was the quieter, and as such it was not a surprise that their mother finally spoke up. I saw them, Cloudy said. I threw them out. A waste, Igneous said, and Cloudy glowered at him. Why? Limestone yelled, hooves smashing upon the table. Marble flinched and recoiled. You both know deep down that you love our cupcakes. We have allowed Pinkamina's inappropriate way of life to cloud our judgment. The craving for cupcakes is sinful and infectious, Igneous said, his gaze still sternly upon Cloudy, who shriveled beneath it. She is gone now, children, and we can no longer give in to the reckless acts she caused. Music, pastries, partying, it is forbidden. How is a pastry reckless? Limestone exclaimed, trying to climb onto the table. Igneous hesitated, but it was Cloudy who grew angry. Cupcakes are a luxury food. They are not bran, corn, or grain. They do not help ponies to grow. It is all sugar, not even the sugar of carrots, peas, or beets. They are entirely unnecessary. Limestone fumed, her face a bright purple. She was nearly onto the table to attempt to wring her mother's neck, but Marble silenced her by pulling upon her knee with a hoof. The furious mess that was Limestone Pie returned to her chair and her dinner. Silence descended upon them. They all continued to eat. When all had finished, the fillies did their dishes and their parents. They slowly went to their room and climbed into their shared bed. Igneous and Cloudy each walked in and wished them a good night and no bad dreams, but left in silence. They didn't even tuck them in, not that they needed it. Limestone made sure to wait until they were downstairs before punching the air in anger. I hate them so much, she whispered to the darkness. Cupcakes are unnecessary and a luxury food. They're not healthy. What bullcrap! She twisted to her side and huffed in anger. Marble hugged her and sighed. I know, but at least they're not prohibiting all forms of baking or throwing out the ingredients they buy for it. It's only a matter of time, Limestone said. Marble stayed quiet, holding her older sister and trying to calm her down. Marble was furious as well. Her parents had both been awful. Igneous had admitted his own temptations, and Cloudy had been cruel. Both were bad. She missed her sister more than ever. In her mind, she wanted to run away, to go with the Limestone to Ponyville and spend their lives there, instead of trapped here. But she knew that was impossible. They were too young, and cutie marks were proof ponies could be freer even while young. She was certain it wouldn't work the way she imagined it in her head. Both sisters fell asleep together, while thinking about Pinkie Pie, and how happier things had been when she was there. One day they would see her again. They held on to that hope. The hope to be free gave them decent enough dreams that night. The rooster's crow woke both of them up. They ate breakfast with their parents in silence and waited for both to go into the field. They were unearthing rocks for a new harvest, whereas Marble and Limestone were waiting further behind them. When their parents became occupied by a particularly stubborn stone, they ran inside. Making sure their absence was unnoticed, they went to their room, opened the closet, and stared at the treasure within. Marble grabbed the record player, and Limestone grabbed a record.
"Shut the door, Limestone!"
Limestone obeyed. The door was softly shut. Both of them sat beside the player, and Marble lowered the record onto it, mindful to observe how all of it worked. She placed the long needle against the black disc's indent. It skipped for a second, then began to play. The sound of a piano, something they only knew for when it played O Holy Celestia at the meetings, played fast and excitedly. It was lively instead of slow. Both ponies' expressions turned happy. They wiggled in place and tried to memorize it. "It's just like Pinkie Pie," Limestone said, almost tearing up as they pictured their sister. "Energetic and happy." The zippy tune bounced along and made them feel at peace. They could see how foals could be aided by the music, as the Gypsy Vanna had told them. They bobbed their heads and lightly tapped their hooves together as the music bobbed and dipped. Their door was flung open as a new beat picked up. Cloudy's hateful blue eyes looked at both of them, and then the player. They both jumped in fright, but couldn't get to their hooves in time. You blasphemers!" she snarled, expression just as it had been when staring at Peppo. She rushed between both of her daughters, hooves raising before she stamped down upon the machine with them. "Back to Tartarus with you, you sinful device!" Her hooves smashed the record disc to pieces. "Mama!" Limestone shouted, having fallen over and become horrified as pieces of wood hit the walls. "I am so sick and tired of these materialistic items and ways!" Cloudy screamed at Limestone. Her eyes turned to Marble, who was trying to distance herself from the bits of sharp wood splinters Cloudy kicked about. "Marble Inky Pie! How could you be this irresponsible? You were supposed to be trying to save your sister's soul and be a good influence upon her. You dare partake in this!" Marble stared at the black pieces of the record, of the splintered wood. Her mouth was dropped open. After a moment, she raised to her hooves. Her anger made her feel suddenly determined. She cleared her throat. "We earned money with our hard labor, and with that money, we bought the record player. You had no right to destroy it. It was ours." She knew if this was Igneous, he would have conceded that it was their property, even if he hated the item. Their mother, however, had become more and more violent in his stead. She hissed and turned on Marble. "Excuse me? Where did you get money from?" The accusation was obvious. She suspected them of theft. "Our cupcakes," Marble said proudly. "We sold some. We worked hard, and instead of giving away all our hard work, we sold some of it. We earned that money, and we earned that record player. It was ours. You had no right to—" Marble felt the hit to her face before she could even mention the Gypsy Vanna, or that it was wrong of Cloudy to do. Limestone gasped. holding her lavender hooves to her mouth. Marble's eyes went wide as pain throbbed against her cheek. Cloudy had always taken pity on Marble, and had mostly hit Limestone or, sometimes, Pinky. "How dare you!" Cloudy growled as her face was near Marble's, her teeth bared and spittle hitting the pony's face. "Your own mother disrespecting me! I gave you life and you dare to turn out rotten like..." She stomped her hoof in anger. "You cannot expect to have special privileges like Pinkamena. Chances are she's long forgotten us. And worse, she's probably already given in to sins and become a harlot. She was careless, and you were to learn from her." Marble moved around her mother. "You will go hungry to repent for your... Where are you going? Marble!" Limestone called out to her retreating sister. Marble went down the stairs and out the door, not answering either of them. She was boxed into the room by Cloudy. "Limestone Blinky Pie, I was punishing only your sister, but if you follow her, you too will have to starve to repent." Limestone didn't even contemplate the threat. She ripped away, jumping over Cloudy's hoof, blocking her path and leaving her furious mother behind. She made it out the door, noting Igneous seemed bothered by how both his daughters raced past him. Good. Fuck her, old man. He was letting it happen, even if he wasn't the one hurting them. She couldn't even remember him hugging her before Pinkie Pie's cutie mark appeared. "Marble! Marble, where are you going?" she called, desperately trying to keep up with her. When had her sister gotten so fast? Marble was far ahead of her and didn't stop her pace. Her expression was that of a stone. "Marble! Marble, please, say something! Are you okay? Talk to me, please!" Still no answer came. Limestone committed to following Marble as she left the farm. They eventually came short of the cave they used. Marble didn't go inside. She stopped by a heap of rocks. Marble seemed to know that even if she was mad, if their parents watched, they'd investigate the cave. Just as Marble flopped against the rocks, she began to scream. Limestone flinched, backing away against a tall boulder not unlike Holder's. Marble was a soft-spoken pony. It was unlike her to be this angry. She had never seen her younger sister lose it before. Marble had a gift of taking everything and continuing through the hell their parents dished out. Now her voice was nothing but hatred and rage, and she kicked at the rocks around her. "Stupid bitch! Bitch! I hate you! I hate you! I hate everything about you! How dare you! How dare you have our sister's eyes and treat us like that! Stupid fucking bitch! And you and Papa can want your damn tolerance!" She shrieked. One of the stones before her was struck over and over again. She beat the rocks and several of them broke under her hooves, chunks flying all over. Despite her screams, making her voice crack, tears ran down Marble's cheeks, streaming wildly as she cursed them. Rocks went all over the place and scattered in the grass. "Marble?" Limestone whimpered, wanting to comfort her, but also terrified. She trembled and rolled into a ball, trying not to be hurt by the shrapnel. Marble was very loud. She beat down on what rocks remained. She lifted her hooves and beat down on the one that had withstood her abuse for a long time. It finally made a loud, popping sound and cracked in half. An intense purple glow sparkled as the top smacked the ground. Marble recoiled at the color. Neither had seen such a rock before. "What?" she said, eyes finally adjusting to the refracting purple light. She stared at both halves. Never in her life had she thought of dissecting rocks. There had always just been more rocks inside of the rocks.
Wow,
she breathed and picked up the fallen half. As she tilted it, a second flash lit up the area, but this came from her flank. She looked down, eyes tearing up, when the light faded and she saw the source.
Marble!
Limestone shrieked at the sight before both of them.
Your flank! Look!
She was looking. Hooves laid the geode down and she touched it, realizing it was real. A large purple geode. It was split perfectly in half. Marble gasped, throat sore, then squealed in delight. It bounced along the fields. Limestone scooped her up in a tight hug as Marble flailed her hooves.
It's my cutie mark!
She cried, her tears of misery becoming happiness. At first they laughed, then rolled in the grass. Next they bounced up and down in delight. Finally both spun in happy circles and laughed. They fell onto the grass, then became quieter. After a while, Marble said,
Wait, why?
Why what? Limestone said, still hugging her. She looked at Marble in confusion.
What does it mean?
I think all cutie marks symbolize something, Marble.
What do you think it means, Limestone?
She asked, struggling to grasp the meaning a purple geode could hold. She hoped it wasn't something that doomed her to the rock farm. That was a fate worse than weeks without food. It simply could not be what her cutie mark meant. Limestone piped up. Well, think about it. You love to know what's inside of other ponies. You care about the inside. But you're a hard rock, too. And you don't always show what's inside of you. You're strong, Marble. Like a marble stone is strong. But we work on a rock farm. We know how rocks do under pressure. They break. You're a beautiful pony on the inside, full of personality and charisma. But you hide that because it doesn't fit. You shouldn't hide it. Like the geode. You're a beautiful geode. She looked at the mark. And it means our parents can't make you hide it either. Marble thought on it. She did love to see what was inside of every pony.
I guess being a rock that never breaks and bottling everything up isn't healthy. I do hide my opinions and feelings a lot.
She mumbled the last part.
I really wanted to keep you from getting hurt and to be part of the background, but it hurts being silent. Far more than Mama can hurt me with her hooves.
Limestone's yellow eyes met hers. She loved that her sister had their father's eyes, but kinder. Much like Pinky had nicer eyes than Cloudy Quartz ever could.
I'm sorry. That must have been an ugly sight to see me like that.
You're damn scary when you're mad, Blinky Pie said with a laugh. Her expression became impressed, and definitely a bit shaken. Show that rage to Mama and she'll never hit you again. Marble frowned. Cloudy reacted to anger just about as well as she reacted to sin. To get mad in her face would do no different than Limestone's own outrage.
Not a good idea.
She scuffed her hoof into the dirt.
I might not be supposed to bottle things up anymore, but you've screamed at Mama and Papa and nothing came out of it. We can't just pretend to do this anymore, though. You're right. It makes us unhappy. But until you have your cutie mark, you still can't leave.
We need to work together, Limestone said, to balance all of this between us. We're all rocks, but we each have interesting things on the inside. Marble laughed. In her head, she was imagining her parents' insides. She wished they had numbers so badly. But they weren't yet ready to kill adults, and killing those 2 terrible ponies related to them was a big risk.
Fight too hard, and we're more miserable. I really miss Pinky.
Me too, Limestone said. Neither one left the geode for some time. They worked to unearth the other half. Both decided to wash it in the stream and take it into town later to sell. They both knew they weren't allowed to eat that night, so they chewed on grass and cleaned themselves off. They returned home once it was dark, going to their rooms. The record player was still there, destroyed and a mess. They worked to clean it up. When Igneous entered, he looked at the mess. In the same voice she had used before, Marble explained their hard work, selling cupcakes, then buying it, and how it wasn't Cloudy's to destroy. He looked surly, but heard them out. "I know she had no right," he grumbled, and Limestone pursed her lips while Marble gestured for her to remain silent. "But while you live here, you live by our rules. The things you buy that are materialistic like that are not allowed in this house." In silence, they took the small leeway. It was not kindness nor pity, but an almost respect. Igneous acknowledged their work. That was all. He still stared upon them with judgment regardless. Marble turned her body and showed her flank.
"I got my cutie mark today."
Her father blinked in pleasant surprise.
"I was so hurt by Mama destroying my stuff, so I broke a big rock and revealed a geode. You told me those weren't real. I'm stronger than rock, Papa, but both of you have hurt me. I won't let you bring me down anymore."
"Do not speak of us in that manner," he glowered, but clearly had a speck of respect.
"Tell Mama not to hit us. Then we won't talk like this and behave,"
Marble said, posed in anger. Igneous's gaze only hardened. "Your mother has the right to discipline you." His voice wavered. "Although hitting children in the face like she has been doing is not the right way. It is sinful. Improper discipline reaps no rewards."
"Fine, but she won't break me again. Try your best to push me down, but I'll only get back up. Have fun punishing Mama."
"How dare you?" he snarled. "Parents are to be respected."
"Okay,"
Marble said, bewildering him. He shook his head and left their room. Marble climbed onto the bed. She looked bemused. Below them a fight broke out. Igneous was not on their side, but definitely against Marble's bruises, and thus their family fell into a new disorder. "We still have to abide by these stupid rules, don't we?" Limestone said, climbing in beside Marble and rubbing her bruise. Marble touched her own fresh blemish and hissed, then nodded.
"Yes, but from now on we pretend it's okay. We're now okay with it. You need your cutie mark, and we need to become adults. When we're grown up, we'll finally be free. And maybe someday, they'll get what's coming to them."
Limestone hugged her, muttering as she looked back at the record player pieces in the trash can. "I can't wait. One day they'll understand, and they'll be scared." She smiled. Marble blew out the candle lighting their dim room that rested by their nightstand.
"One day,"
she whispered. Without another word, they shut their eyes. Pinky was a ritual slowly forming between them. She came to them in their dreams more and more, and she extended her hoof to lead them away from the pain the rock farm caused. They pictured Pinkie Pie having a great time and inviting them along as they drifted off to sleep.